this tall back in those days. Yeah. Hope y'all good.
Yeah, okay.
It was wonderful. When the bishop came down and
Yeah, I know. You know what place. They tell you about gravity?
I think y'all have to correct it. I know I should.
Oh, yeah. That's how it is.
Yeah, I just have to. True.
Yeah.
It's true.
They add up fast.
Yeah.
Twins? That's gonna be fun. Really? Oh, really? Well, I can remember it. You can remember it.
They go fast. I mean, my 11-year-old daughter's already 5'6".
Yeah, she's tall. She's real tall. And Bear's big too, so, yeah, they grow up fast. I mean, I've just got these two for a year with Katie, so that's all I ever did have, a bunch of grand dogs with my other daughter. That's what they gave you. They gave you the dogs. Kimberly, my son Matt.
Hi. Good, nice to meet you.
Director Special Ed.
Nice to meet
She
you.
used to be in the city hall until we stole her away. She stole us.
How are you?
Why wouldn't
I'm doing good, thank you. Are you presenting today?
Yeah.
This is the key. That we identify, now we need to move the box.
Right there, right in the corner.
I'm Victoria.
Michael Brooks?
Sir, how are you doing?
He knows all the options.
Yeah, I thought Victoria.
No, I just don't want to. For me. Right. And when he first crashed, I was transit. Yes. And I was like, I'm not. But you were. And I was like, well, when was this case?
Okay, so yes,
He said,
so
October
there was,
something. I'm like, I did not. I didn't. And this was like a month ago. So then he called me.
yeah, that's why I haven't back. Maybe if we need to get
I don't know, unless there's an additional. But can you double check? Like maybe there's a. Or you I didn't want it or. Claims is my name's in there somewhere. I can tell you when you where? I didn't know where you think I was. I was like, I was sitting in my office.
I don't know what the problem is.
So yeah, if you could just check.
Absolutely, sure.
Hey, guys, how are you? Thanks very much. You got to move out there? Well, I knew it. Yeah, I mean, good times.
Just enjoy just eating. Yeah, it was really okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Hi, how are you?
it's covered, and that's the problem all year, because government says I want it. So my thing is that for the years, because she don't want what rate is my that's why they should have visited last year. That's just the right, and the final is, I just called it. Yeah, no, it was just. So for me, I think that we should make this It's just a matter of genetic reason. Right now, they're writing parents say, you know what, there's two companies that's really two
Hi, how you doing now? Good to see you.
Anyway, one of our best friends.
We're looking at all this, grass and stuff.
Yeah, and I'm gonna have someone draw it out. It's good.
They came to me with a proposal earlier today.
So they're gonna be all over it.
Well, they want to hear somebody.
Right,
More than times the amount of your trees.
Yeah.
My son,
Okay.
Luis brought me some of the supervisors that he can buy trees for the next 10 years from graduation. I said, I love the idea because phase in limiting our footprint. So we ordered a couple of those off of Amazon, so we can play with them. All these different things all have a different kind of a different product. But it was really good. Where'd you live at the board? Yeah, exactly.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Move us forward. So I'm gonna go, let's see, we are going to go ahead and begin the Facilities and Safety Committee meeting of the Board of Trustees for HCISD. We'll begin at 4:04. Thank you all so much for being here. And we are going to, if you'll indulge me, do a little bit of reordering of our agenda. We'll do item number 2, public comments for agenda topics. And then we'll jump down to school safety update. And the reason for that is many of our audience members are really kind of focused on that particular topic. And so we'll be able to go through that topic, have the discussion that we need on that topic, and then we'll jump back up to item number 3 and then move through that. So if everybody's kind of giving me the thumbs up, I appreciate that. So that'll be our order. So let me begin then with item number 2, public comments for agenda topics. Do you have any?
Chair, there's no comments.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, so then jumping to item 8, school safety update, Dr. Joseph Fioria.
All right, good evening, good afternoon, not evening yet. Dr. Reiner, Dr. Narilla, audience members. So every month we bring forward a school safety update, and so this month we're going to be looking at law enforcement communication. Currently in our school district we have great partnerships with Harlingen Police Department, Premeta, Combs, Cameron County as well. And so a lot of our school safety efforts are in conjunction with them, and we're extremely grateful for the partnerships that we have with them. But one topic that's been coming up is how does that communication happen between all these agencies that are assisting Harlingen CISD? And so we wanted to take a little bit of time this afternoon to kind of just speak to that so that there's a clear understanding of how that communication works amongst the entities so we can ensure that we're providing a safe environment for our students. But at first, always starting with our strategic plan. I mean, this fits perfectly into our communication and stakeholder experience. Again, to ensure that if there is an incident, we're able to communicate that swiftly and promptly to our community members. But it all starts first with that law enforcement response and the school district response. And so we're going to take a little bit of time again, like I said, this afternoon, looking at that. I'm going to turn it over right now to Tanya Sandoval. She is our coordinator for school safety, fresh from the Harlingen Police Department. We're very grateful to have her here in our school district. And so she's going to be speaking to us about what that communication looks like amongst our law enforcement.
Good afternoon, everybody. So our law enforcement campus-based communication is our everyday communication within our campuses, right, between our officers. Given that we have different agencies at all our different campuses working on a daily basis, we were loaned a radio channel that we use for the officers that are specifically on our campus. And the way that happens is our officers are then able to change their radio as soon as they arrive to our campus to go to our regional tactical channel, which is a channel that we were loaned, and they're able to identify who they are to our dispatch center. HPD dispatch does get a copy of the officers that are working, and they're able to then communicate with each other from campus to campus on this radio, regardless of whatever agency they work for. Given that they're all on the same channel, they're able to communicate. And so that's how they're able to make sure that they're up to date. If there's something happening on one campus, they can relay it to another officer at a different campus. HPD is our communication, their communication center is our primary responder for this channel. But because we do have 3 campuses that do fall in county jurisdiction, in the event that something were to happen to their county is also monitoring the channel at the same time. So we do have make sure that both agencies are able to respond if necessary. So if the officer has something to relay, they would call HPD dispatch or they would call Cameron County dispatch. So regardless, depending on what campus they're on. And then we have our law enforcement critical incident communication, which is in the event that something were to actually happen at one of our campuses. We do have what's called a regional call channel for our officers, that all the officers in our law enforcement agencies around the Rio Grande Valley have access to this channel. So let's just say, for example, if there was a 911 call and HPD was to receive this call at their 911 center, they would first dispatch HPD officers on their primary channel to respond to our incident, and then they would get on the radio to our regional call and broadcast this call over the regional channel to all law enforcement agencies, which is everybody in the Rio Grande Valley, as well as DPS. And then they would all get that information. Dispatch would then tell them, I'm designating this specific channel for this incident so that everyone can then switch over to this channel. So all the officers would know exactly what channel to switch over to, so that we're making sure that they're able to get the information right. And dispatch would only relay all the critical information from this incident on that one channel so that they're not having to repeat themselves, right? So everybody has access to this. In the event that they need to, they can patch in channels from other HPD channels into this regional so that officers don't have to switch their radio. And that way, if they're already on the scene, they would patch them into this regional call. They're not trying to switch while they're trying to handle the incident at the same time. And everybody's able to relay the information that needs to. And dispatch would be in control of this channel at all times. And that's basically how we communicate.
And so currently we're looking at here in our school district, we've already started the process is establishing our own radio channel here with our school district, okay? And so that, you know, is a long process that we have to undergo to be able to get there, but we've already started that process. And so throughout these updates, we'll be keeping you abreast of where we're at in the development of our own radio channel, so that when officers do arrive to campuses, just on a daily basis, they would go to that channel specifically designed for HCISD and run by HCISD as well. And then at next month's meeting, we're also going to be looking at internal and external communication within our district should we have an incident and what that looks like. So there's a process that we've established in our school district. It's kind of our communication pyramid or chain. And so what it looks like when a campus is calling something from our standard response protocol, which could be a hold, a secure, or lockdown, how that goes down all the way from the superintendent to senior team to our director of media relations, so that we can begin crafting all that communication that needs to go out to our families, to our staff members. And so we'll be taking a closer look at that at the next meeting as well. And then we'll also be looking at what communication looks like during a crisis event amongst our law enforcement officers and our school districts. So, and what that looks like when an actual event is going on our campuses. So at this time, we'll open it up for any questions or discussions that we may have about today's topics.
One question. I believe the loaning of this channel was from Cameron County, correct? So just want to recognize that and thank you for that to get us moving in the right direction.
And then if I may add, like I said, we're already taking the steps necessary to establish our own radio channel.
Great. Other questions, comments?
Couple of questions. just for my own education. So you mentioned 3 county schools outside of the Harlingen city limits. Is HPD still the lead at the 3 county schools on response?
So it would be the agency that the school lands in. So if it's
Okay.
Primera, it would be Primera. If it's Combs, it's Combs. But county sheriff's office and those agencies share the same dispatch center.
Okay. Thank you. And so you mentioned the channel that picks up, you mentioned other cities will pick up the chatter going on here. Do we
Correct.
pick up those communications that when there's incident of McAllen, I think a couple weeks ago, did HPD receive?
So as long as the dispatch center relays it on the regional call center, we will get it. So HPD would get it, so would Cameron County, as long as it's aired out on that regional call, which HPD would automatically air out if we had a critical incident here.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments?
So how has it been working, having that local channel with all of our agencies?
It's been great on our part. We hear something that's going on. If there's a lockdown in another school, we have something going on. We'll know already what's going on over here at this school. So we need to prepare the administrator, let them know, hey, this is going on over here. Just be ready for this in case they do anything else. We're able to get that information. We haven't had any busy channels. As soon as they come in, they notify HPD that they're at this location. HPD calls. Even when there's been an incident outside, right on the middle of the street, we call on that channel and HPD arrives and helps us. Even if it's off campus and we see something across the street.
Any other questions or comments? Great, thank you very much. Thank you to the whole team. At the center part of this work is communication. So it's really so important for us to understand this, and I look forward to next month's discussion as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great. So, safety committee members, if you would like to stay, you are welcome to stay. If you have other priorities, you are free to go. We understand as well. So that's the bulk of the discussion on safety. Thank you. The next item, so we're going to jump up to number 3. This will be the presentation on school dining hall upgrades. Mr. Tapia.
Thank you, Chair. Reininger, members of the committee. I want to start off with presentations with the upgrades that we've done at the Harlingen South cafeteria. Every few years, our child nutrition program will have sufficient funds to take a school or two to do some upgrades to the furniture and to the decor. And applications are sent to TEA, Department of Health, to get approval. It's got to meet certain requirements, it has to have certain verbiage and themes and so forth. So at Harlingen South, we submitted and got approved the design, and it was awarded to EduSource Corporation for $244,000, again, paid by Child Nutrition Funds, which are federal funds. And we did some upgrades there. And we also, in-house with CRE funds, upgraded the ceiling tiles, which were in really, really bad shape. They were the original ones. We tried to clean them. They were just too dirty and dingy looking, kind of a health issue also. That's what the kids eat. And we also updated the lighting fixtures, because there was a whole bunch of different light fixtures with different colors over the years, and it just didn't look good. And you do all that nice work and have bad lighting. So we upgraded all that with the TRE fund. So combined, we spent about $281,000. And that's the upgrade. If you haven't been out there lately, there was a lot of decor work on the walls. That gray strip you see on the right top side, it was that old Tectum board. It was just kind of like a greenish, ugly orange color. And it was painted with the theme of the whole color scheme with the gray, dark gray. And it looked really nice, and it helped with the acoustics. We have the graphics, we have new furniture. And again, you can see the brand new light fixtures, all consistent now, and of course that'll save energy too with LED lighting. Got rid of the old T8s and T12s that we had. New ceiling tiles, the graphics there you can see behind the Harlingen High School South. It says a step above. That's their, I guess, hashtag, if you want to say, and they incorporated that into the design. The kids really like it. Some graphics there by the snack bar, some additional hanging acoustic design, triangles. Some logos and creative cafe there. and a big S on the windows with a design blocking a little bit of the bright light coming in there. And so overall, it turned out even the trash cans have are new and have the logos on them. So they're very happy with the design, and it was done, of course, with the contractor and in-house using some of our contractors on it. So, any questions on that project?
The EDU Source Group, Court, are they local?
They have a branch in a subcontractor in the valley that they use, but that's in there from San Antonio.
Are they the ones that designed all the changes that they went and so forth?
Yes, and they work with the administration, Mr. Reyes, the principal, is very involved, and Judy Baker and their teaching staff, and work with our purchasing department on the vendors we have available for the furniture. So I'll combine that effort, and Mr. Reyes really likes the design.
Terrific. Well needed, but that's just campus.
And while we're presenting these, I also want to take the opportunity to present the upgrades we did in the Rodriguez and Travis cafeteria that we did back in the fall, actually, and we finished them, I think, in November, December, right, Ken? Yeah. But I never brought them forward to present to the committee, but they're really nice projects too, and cost $96,000. And these were combined with when we turned the elementaries into STEM academies, utilizing some MUSC funds that we had got for some grant monies, and Ms. Bertano was very involved with the principals and overall designing the cafeteria with some other classrooms and things like that. So we did some additional painting, child nutrition paid for $35,000, and then utilizing the MUSC funds, we did a lot of work inside with some lighting, there was some sprinkler system, fire alarm upgrades, we did some outside landscaping work, repaired some stucco, refurbished the stage with the wood floor. We spent about $35,000. So overall, we spent about $167,000 at Rodriguez, and that was the final product. Really nice graphics. You can see some of those designs that fit in with the STEM, math, and science theme. New furniture, and there's a stage again with a lot of the graphics fitting into the overall schematics, and some of the signage and verbiage and paint schemes. And that's a big cafeteria. It's a bigger campus. So it was really nice. Travis, we also did the combination child nutrition funds for $62,000, some additional painting for $13,000, and we did general renovations with MUSC funds of about $72,000. But this just wasn't the dining hall. We also did the hallway with some graphics and 2 old science labs that were converted to STEM laboratories. So there's the kitchen, dining hall, really nice, bright primary colors and furniture. You see some of the graphics. And there's a hallway. And the entry had a nice VCT type flooring, but as we went back into the campus, it had an old Saltillo tile that just didn't fit with the design of the overall campus. So we found a way to cover it up, the way the flooring company filled it in so you wouldn't see the grout lines. Got a smooth surface, and then put VCT over it, and they got new graphics on the wall, so it looked really nice. New LED lighting, new ceiling tiles. This product really changed the look of that school. And those are the classrooms that were turned into STEM Academy classrooms. Science combination, a little bit of robotics and things that they do there, maker spaces. And that's one room from different views. And
Oscar, on page 16, the one before, are those painted murals, or are they wallpaper?
They're wraps.
Yeah.
Great.
It looks so cool.
And you have to go in on those walls to prep.
Yeah,
put like 6
they look really
coats
nice.
of
In
a
person.
special type paint that creates the smooth finish, so that wrap will sit, you adhere to it properly, so you have to pick up the lines of the brick and things like that. So there's a lot of prep work that goes into that, and it looks really fantastic.
We also did some graphics and wall art at the Harlingen Legion High. Remember that Vaquero and the library with the graphics? It's very similar materials that they use there. So 3 dining hall projects and elementary projects we did with our child nutrition, utilizing federal funds. We had sufficient in their fund balance, so we're very happy and proud of these projects, and now we're trying to save up a little bit to look for another school to do.
Greg, thinking about going back to school?
I am.
There's one at Austin too, like they did a computer lab and they did kind of those wraps around it too.
Yes.
They look really nice, if you can. Super vibrant.
Sign it up tomorrow.
So, Mr. Tapia, do you want to go on to item 4, presentation and update on ESSER funds?
Yes, we'll move on to the ESSER project on page 20. Look at your booklet. The Harlan, as part of the ESSER funds, there was another project that we bid out for South High School. The gymnasium big units were pretty bad and they're just barely holding on. We've done a lot of repair and they were just afraid in another year or two they just would not work at all no matter what kind of repairs we did. So we took advantage of the ESSER funds to bid this one out. And we did get 3 bids. They're on page 21, Carrier, Central Air, and Quantum. The low bidder was Carrier, $780,000. We did get with the ranking committee, we ranked it. And so it looks like Carrier is going to rank out, but we'll do some final review of the numbers, get a letter from the engineer to make sure everything's in order. And we'll put an agenda item next Tuesday for award. And we'll only be doing the base bid because the alternate was to do electrical upgrades to replace the units for the serving locker rooms. They're not as bad shape, but we thought if we can get a good price, maybe we can do them now, but they're almost the same price combined as the base bid, and we just don't have the funds for that. So we're only going to recommend the base bid.
Question?
So just curious, Quantum Mechanical, are they Valley, McAllen?
They're from the McAllen area.
McAllen? The bids are pretty close, so.
They were close, and again, they're not used to bidding on projects, and you'll see the ranking sheet on your agenda. They were missing a lot of information again. And we tell them at our pre-bid conferences, do not miss information, or if you're close, you could lose the bid out. If the other guys are get stuff, you could sneak up, in front of them. But Carrier had a lot of the information, most of it, and good price, so they look like they're going to win out.
Question, Oscar, on the completion. I noticed that one of the bids talked about, the completion being a function of the equipment, being delivered. Do we foresee that an issue with this other bid because they haven't really? They just gave a total time of 490 days. That's.
Yeah, they're doing that to cover themselves. A lot of these, especially these subcontractors that are not used to working as general contractors, they read the specs and we have that $1,000 a day penalty. They get really scared of that, so they don't want to get any penalties, so they're going to add more time to make sure that they're covered. But units that were taking about a year, some of the other projects we awarded a few months ago, they're not coming until November. So it could be up to a year before we get them, even just receive the materials, then it's another couple of months to install them.
In your ranking system, does timeliness of completion, is that a factor that y'all look at?
In our current system, it's not.
I thought it was.
I
thought we looked at the history of their time. I thought we vetted their history of other projects and their references. I thought we.
That's completing the job on time. Let's say they've done 2 or 3 projects with us, and they submitted their time of, let's say, 300 days, and they're going over. Well, then we're going to penalize them on points because historically they're always late on the project.
I see.
So that's the way it works. It's not, do you give us good time bids? That's not what's right.
It's part of your, but it is part of your analysis and part of your overall
history.
ranking.
Yes, on the history of completing the project.
Got it, because I know we've had several projects in the past where some contractor didn't order doors because they didn't have the money or whatever, and they waited, we held back one of them like a year and a half.
Right, and also we asked for owner references, and those other owners also said they were late, and we kind of like, a few points here and there.
Sure, and that's gonna play a key part in this particular instance because these are ESSER funds, ESSER 3 funds, and they end September 30th of 2025, so we have a deadline to expend those funds, so we're gonna keep all that task.
But the timing is, it sounds like it's appropriate given the
Yes.
length of viability of what the equipment we have,
Sure.
less than 400 days or whatever. It's really fast.
Right. Then another question, I'll move on to the roofing bid. This is the one that we awarded to Arjo Roofing of Arlington High, And that's all those wings there that we looked at. We finally got the contracts done, they got the permit, we issued notice to proceed, so we're meeting with the school principal to set up the logistics where they're gonna set up, because there's another contractor that's doing general renovations. So now the roofer, they need their space to work and not be, complicated with the other contractors. So we're working that out, and they're gonna be starting here in the next week or two, as soon as they get materials. And they're gonna start on the furthest west, left side, complete them, and then work on the middle side, and then eventually on that long wing 8, which is on the furthest right next to the parking lot. Because if they do wing 8 first, and they start working on the other ones, and they trample over the new roof, they'll just tear it up. So that's the process that they're gonna be using.
And that's also ESSER, right?
These are all extra funds, yes.
That's a lot of money.
So we picked that up. So those are the extra projects I wanted to update you on. If there's no further questions, we'll move on to the TRE projects. The first one is Zavala. That's the one that's under Gerlach Construction, and they're about 80% complete. They just completed the terrazzo floor. Remember, we tore out that floor, we put new plumbing, patched it up, and smoothed it out, and now we got terrazzo on it. They already got stuff on the walls, real clean looking, painting work going on. And that's the entry to the new freezer cooler on the top. And then the bottom picture is the view of the cooler inside with the units. On the left is just a little random access that we have going into that space. And so it's just a matter of finishing up the restroom, save the ceiling, and then we'll start putting in the equipment like the kitchen sink and any other equipment that we have in food service. And they plan to complete this by last week of April, first week of May. On the Copley Middle School gym upgrades, this is the one we had bid out before. Our bids were 1.1, 1.2 million, and we only had one bidder, so we just decided we're just gonna have to rebid it again. We did rebid it, we put out some things that we were gonna do ourselves, like some painting work, sanding the floor, painting the floor, and the sound system we're gonna do ourselves. So we bid it out, and we got, again, one bidder, same contractor at $950,000. So the price wasn't that much lower, but architect and I met with them. There were some things that they did duplicate from Vernon to Copley that are not gonna be done at Vernon, so they just said, oh, that's right, we just duplicated the numbers. Take this out, take that out. And as per our meeting, we're down about 816,000. We're gonna double check those numbers again with the architect, make sure we don't meet some of those things, and what we can do in-house, and then we'll be making a recommendation at the next board meeting. There's no need to bring it out a third time. We already know what we're gonna get, we can't change the scope anymore, other than not doing the project. So
Why are we gonna get one bidder? Do you think there'd be more?
After what happened the first time, the architect called several, Huggins, Peacock, and a whole bunch of other ones, and Ziwa, and they're busy. They got a lot of work right now.
That's good negotiation for the most part.
So we're negotiating that down to about 815. We'll have about 200,000 left over, and with that, we already got quotes to paint them for 50-some thousand each. So we can afford that, upgrade some sound systems, and the floor, probably about 90,000. And we'll be able to do it within our budget. Right around, real close to our budget.
That's great.
The Early Childhood Academy Outdoor Learning Space, we have bid this one out before. Again, we're up in over the $1 million. We went back and made some changes and rebid it. And we got 3 bidders. And we got really good prices this time. 522,000, 586,000. The one in the middle, 137,000. All they did was the landscaping, but they really were trying to get that bid to the other companies so that they can hire them under their umbrella. So they didn't bid all the other stuff, concrete or sprinklers. It was strictly landscaping. And they just figured, well, maybe they'll hire me separate, but that's not the way the bid works. So they were actually not, they were disqualified, and they didn't sign their bid form, so we didn't even legally acknowledge the bid. So it's really down to the other 2.
Did these people bid the first time?
Yes.
And how much higher were they?
The lowest one was 90, and then 1 million and 1.1
But
million.
did we reduce the scope of work?
To show you there what we did, and I'll see if you can see that green area there. That area was all designed too, and we took it out all the way down to this area. And this is the playground area that's currently sitting here. We're relocating it and redesigning this. And this part that was all designed out, we left it as an open green space, and this actually works better for the school because they have an area of real grass, because there's a little area here in the middle that's artificial. They'll have an area of real grass. They can play activities. If they fall down, they won't get hurt. They can play sack hopping, any activities. They can play ball. And they want to do little kind of messes and fundraisers. They can bring in their little booths, and parents can have it there. And the principal got all excited. She's all like, I can think of all kinds of things I can use that space. Actually, I like this design better. And we got a really good price for it. So they're very, very excited. So we've already ranked it, and we'll have a recommendation next week to award it. Renovations at the high school that I told you about, we already met with the contractor out there, meeting with the principal and the staff, because they have to come up with a system for how to make sure everybody's identified in the badge. There's a lot of kids, how we're going to screen it off. And they already started construction on the quad area, which is that big landscape area where it's going to be a gathering space and outdoor eating area. And they've already set up, they've already done some work. And they're starting, so we're excited about that project, and now they're waiting for materials to arrive on the other phases. Contingency allowances on the multi-purpose building at the Early Childhood Academy, which is the old dining hall. It's all glass on one side, and they wanted some roller shades, and we got a price. And then around the new additions, it's just dirt. We're gonna have some extra grading and mulching that we have grass grow on it right away, if not, it'll start eroding as we get rain. So it was $7,800 cost, and we still have $73,000 left over. So we'll still have a balance of $65,000 in that job. First responders, there's some electrical panels on the walls, but there's no sheetrock, so you can stick your hand behind there and touch wires and stuff. So the fire department said, you know, we need a sheetrock wall to cover that. You need to cover all that up. So for $500, we did a little change order, and that work's been done. There's a lot of kitchen. A couple of walls had tiles on the walls that were cracked. Tearing them all down and retiling was going to cost too much money, so we're actually going to just stucco over them with metal laths and stucco works. And you saw the pictures; they look really nice and smooth and clean. That cost $10,000. We've had $12,000, so we still have $1,800 left in that contingency. So those are the contingencies that I'm reporting to the board as for policy.
Who's doing that work?
That one is Gerlach. They're doing a really good job and quick. And that's the end of my presentation. If there's no questions, we'll move on to the financial portion.
Go ahead. Do you have a question?
Oscar, can you remind me where we are on, I know we have little projects, the high schools and whatnot, where students were, build these little small homes. What are they called again?
Tiny homes.
Tiny homes, thank you. Literally small.
Little.
Smaller than
Smaller
than small. Right. My question is, and it has to do with your presentation, is would it make sense to have sort of like in your shop, to have a general contractor that's a district general contractor for small types of projects like these and that kind of stuff, where students can participate, programmatically they can participate, and get certifications and things like that. And you can, obviously it's not going to be HVAC and probably not going to be roofing, and, that kind of stuff. But I would think this is a good opportunity, not only for the district to save money, but to provide, sort of skill sets and training and educational opportunities for our students, and also to sort of fix things, real time that need to be repaired, like wall stuff and little flooring things and cracks and this, that, the other. I mean, I'm sure there's a whole list of things your folks can go through and say, gosh, we could hire a crew of like, 5 or 7 people, that have all this general knowledge, and it may not be electrical, maybe it is for minor stuff, I don't know. But then you augment that with students and things like that, and you can kind of bring projects to that sort of HCISD general contractor team that could provide, first of all, we can fix things at our high schools and our things like that. Everybody can put a list together, that kind of stuff. Yes, some things are one-offs, they're big enough, they need to go out, need to bid it out. I get all that. But I'm talking about things, so we have, my company, we have kind of a thing like that, and that's just, we're just a small little company, you know, because we have things so much often to have, things that really break, need to be fixed, and that kind of stuff, so we have people that are employed just to constantly fix things and to, you know, do little, you know, touch-ups and, you know, that kind of stuff. And so I don't know if that's something we can do here that also can be beneficial to the students.
I don't know, that's something that we would work with our Kate department, the director with. I know they have, like with Tiny Homes, they have a sponsor, Eddie Rodriguez, who works for Devos Construction. And whether they can expand that to actually give, kind of like that program that they pay kids to work.
It's an apprenticeship.
Apprenticeship.
Or externship.
And do something like that.
Dr. Reiner, if I may add, yeah, that's definitely something we can, you know, definitely explore with Dr. Alvarez in the CTE department, because, you know, once you progress through those CTE programs, you know, once you reach their senior level, we're looking for practicum locations for the students, so they can go apply their skills, and this would just be a good opportunity for them, another opportunity for students.
And I think the district could save money, and it'd be timely, because we can get things fixed, like we don't have to put it out to bid, and that we already have an internal mechanism to do that, and it's beneficial to our students, to our students.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know, I think it's something to really explore, and I think you're right, the CTE, I mean, they could sort of kind of quarterback it, obviously with your shop, because all the requests come to you, right? I mean, they don't go to CTE, they come to you, so you have to coordinate this one has to go out, this one can kind of be perfect for this, whatever you call it, if y'all come up with some fancy name, you know, for it.
Some of these kids have like an hour, 2 hour, 8-week block, I don't know what, but instead of going to a class, they report to the location, and maybe they can do a little bit and then hit that.
Well, and maybe we could even think outside the box there. Maybe they do these things in 2-week chunks to where they can really dedicate and learn something out. And then, you know, I don't know. I mean, we can think differently about it, because obviously, you know, 1 or 2 hours here, they're not going to be able to get to do much out of it. But maybe we can just think a little differently about it, because this is sort of an apprenticeship. So they should have a block for that. I would think, you know.
We had the conversation, Doc, about hiring our own little local general contractor person, because, you know, to what Oscar mentioned, we're having to
$10 million a
streamline.
year. Just with TRE, it's $10 million a year. Just with TRE. That's
So
right.
we're having to streamline some of these projects, right? So he's talked about several programs that we had to cut this out and bring it internal so that we can get those jobs done. So we've had a conversation about hiring our own little general contractor to really manage all the little projects that are going along. And so I think that'd be, as Oscar, as we think about it, that might be, because one of the things we had a conversation on is the pay for this kind of person, right? And how do you make it competitive enough for them to say, I'm going to leave whatever it is I'm doing to come and be a contractor for the district, but, you know, even adding that extra little responsibility of overseeing this particular student aspect, I think would allow us to be able to make that salary a little bit more attractive.
No, absolutely, and that's why I like the idea that you guys have already implemented, where, you know, where if you could sort of do that and, you know, go to someone like a D. Wilson or other companies, and so they may have somebody to volunteer, you know, because they know that over time they're going to also get these other projects that this thing can't handle, right? But if they can find someone good for you and they say, hey, you know, we're going to whatever, and maybe they augment that person's salary, maybe they don't, that's up to them or whatever, but I mean, at least we have somebody that's been very experienced, that knows what they're doing, that can be the quarterback for this type of a team, and that, I mean, I like the idea.
Okay, so let's move to item 6, construction fund and other project financial report. Mr. Mendoza.
Yes, thank you. Dr. Ranger, committee members, Dr. Neal. We're in our 8th year of our TRE projects. Currently, from year 1 through 7, I'm sorry, right now, we are at $79,185,785. That's how much was spent and encumbered. Current year, our year 8, that's on column 6. We have spent $11,161,083 as of March 31st of 2023. That's $161,000 increase from the previous month's report. So total encumbered and spent on column 7 is $90,249,363, which gives us a positive variance of $4.1 million on our TRE projects. Again, these are all projects financed with our general operating fund. We're in our 8th year and we still have a positive variance on those funds. Any questions or concerns?
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
Well, just to remind the board and this, and everybody, this would, had we instead done a TRE, but $100 million, bond, we'd be pretty much almost out of money, except that would have been on, the entirety of it on the backs of our taxpayers. Except in this situation, it's only 42% on the backs of our taxpayers. 58% is matched by the state, so this is just incredible. So thanks to the community for voting for the TREs.
So to your point, we would have been out of the bond money, but with our TREs, this is going to continue.
It's
So
in
that's
and it's in perpetuity,
great.
correct?
Thank you. All right. If there are no other comments or items to come before the committee, we stand adjourned. Thank you all. Oh, one more?
Just one more item.
Oh, cool. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The public facilities report.
Oh, I checked it. I checked it. It was not done. My apologies.
Thank you.
The next one, Mr. Mendoza, I didn't mean to cut you off
No,
there.
no problem.
Discussion of HCISD Public
We have some
Facilities Lease
reports.
Revenue Bond Series 2007.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Dr. Renager, committee members, Dr. Neola. So we've been in contact with both our financial advisor and our bond counsel, which they're here, Mr. Matt Lee and Mr. Ryan, they're here. So we have a series, Public Facility Series 2007 outstanding. Currently, we have $1.9 million outstanding on that particular lease revenue. We have the possibility of paying those off early. Currently, we're making payments out of our general operating fund in the amount of $400,000 per year. There's a change in the LIBOR rate. I'm pretty sure Mr. Lee can explain that and expand that on that a little bit more. So that'll save us, if the board agrees to pay off those bonds early, that'll save us about $400,000 next year. Currently, these bonds mature in 2027. And if we pay them off early, we'll save a little bit in interest. And so I know for sure Mr. Lee will have some additional information on it.
Thank you. Can I deem this as?
Absolutely.
As Mr. Mendoza said, my name is Matt Lee with the law firm Norton Lewis Fulbright. We've been the district's bond counsel for, probably should have looked at this before, but I think on all y'all's debt and bond elections dating back to a long time, including the issuance of these bonds back in 2007. We've been asked to testify in front of the Congress on Tuesday. Next week, we don't have a board meeting. So that's why I couldn't be, or we can't be present at the board meeting. So Mr. Mendoza brought up that y'all were going to be discussing this item at this committee meeting anyway. We thought it'd be a good opportunity to just come down. To the extent y'all have questions now, we can certainly address those. And if there's any financial questions as well, Angel with Charlie, your financial advisor is here as well, so he can answer those. But just taking a step back in 2007, the district created a public facility corporation to finance the Lee Means Academy. And the PFC issued $6-point-something million in bonds. And I think the district contributed about 50%, $6 million towards the project as well.
That's correct.
And so the PFC is the issuer of the bonds. Those bonds are payable from the lease payments that the district makes to the PFC. And that's coming out of your M&O rate, not the INS rate. And like Mr. Mendoza said, under that indenture, those bond documents that authorize those bonds, generally, when the district issues bonds, it's a fixed interest rate over the life of the bonds. In this instance, these bonds were privately placed with Zion's a private placement instead of a public market sale to investors. So the very last term bond maturity that matures in 2027 is tied to the LIBOR index, which is going away. We've known for years now that it's going away. So the trustee over at Zion's reached out in October and said, hey, we need to do something. We've got time. LIBOR goes away June 30th. So y'all need to look at your options and report back to us on what you'd like to do. So we looked at the documents. You have to do something. Option one is you can go amend that document and replace LIBOR with whatever the current rate is. And I think SOFR, SOFR, I forget exactly what the acronym stands for at the moment, but that's going to be the next index that you replace it with. One thing to consider, and Andrew could probably speak on this, is with interest rates going up, that index, we don't really know where that could be, right? And so if you pay off the bonds, and so option 2 would be pay off the bonds now, and you save on the interest costs from August 15th of 2023, when you would redeem the bonds until maturity on August 15th, 2027. And so that's basically what you're saving by paying that off. And so let's assume there's no LIBOR issue, nothing, we're going the course. The way the PFC works and those bonds work is once they've matured, they've been paid off, the PFC is actually the owner of the asset. If you go on the Cameron Appraisal District website and look up Lee Means Academy, you'll see Harlingen PFC as the owner of the asset. So in August 15, 2027, when those bonds are paid off, the asset transfers over to the district. The PFC remains in existence because it also issued bonds in 2020 or 2013 for the School of Health Professionals, I believe.
Yes.
Okay. Correct. So it's going to, had they not issued those separate bonds, I believe the PFC would probably be dissolved. But it's going to remain outstanding after you pay off these 2007. So what we're doing here, potentially option 2, is the district has the option under the lease agreement to exercise its right to purchase the asset from the PFC early. And so the way you do that is there's a purchase option price. It's basically principal remaining, accrued interest through the payoff date, which here would be August 15, 2023, and some other fees that the trustee would take. They have to file UCCs, do some other real estate stuff. They've got a redemption fee or something, and so they provide their payoff. And I've shared that with Mr. Mendoza. You also have some funds that they're holding for y'all in various accounts in about $8,000.
$8,000.
So when you net all that out, I think it's 1.983 is what the payoff would be. So what would happen is next Tuesday at y'all's board meeting, we'll give y'all documentation, and Angel, your financial advisor, will be at that meeting. The PFC will meet to adopt an order that'll say, we agree to redeem the bonds and sell the assets to Harlingen, or to the Harlingen Independent School District. We're going to delegate matters to the appropriate parties to sign certain documents, work with the bond counsel, work with their financial advisor to effectuate this sale. And then the ISD board meeting will meet after that. They'll adopt an order or resolution that basically says we agree to exercise our right to purchase the asset from the PFC, and we're going to delegate to the superintendent, board president, Mr. Mendoza, to effectuate the sale of this. So you only have to meet once. It's going to be next Tuesday. And we'll go behind the scenes and we'll work with the paying agent, the trustee, the bondholders, everybody else. Once y'all approve that next Tuesday, we'll give notice to the trustee and to the PFC, basically, saying we're going to exercise our right to purchase. It has to be 30 days out. So sometime before June 30th, the school district pays off the bonds to the trustee, makes a payment to the trustee. At that point, the asset transfers, the lease goes away, and then the trustee, as of August 15, 2023, will exercise or will cause the redemption of the bonds on that date. And so I know I just laid out a ton of stuff, but let me know if you have any questions on that.
Does it come out of our M&O, the 1.8?
Yes, so.
It has to come out of there, right?
Yes, sir.
We're pretty sound in that department?
Yeah, we use our fund balance. We have over
I was gonna say,
$48 million.
it's a fund
Yeah,
balance.
it's fund balance.
Yeah.
It's not a-
We have $48 million in fund balance, so we use that as one-time payment.
So a couple questions. So it comes out, we're just gonna pay it off fund balance, that's fine. So right now, it's pretty nominal. What, in the bond, what interest is it? It's like, nothing, it's like less than 1%. What's interest on the current bond note?
So the LIBOR, I think for this current year, so they set it as of the August 15th of 2022, and that rate applies through that fiscal year or that payment cycle, so August 15, 2023. That is at 3.4, I believe, is what Zion said.
Yeah, everything's way up. So then, so that's gonna go up to, let's say, I don't know, 5, 6, or something. Are you saying under the new mechanism, it could go up to 5 or 6%, right?
Correct, right. As of today, or as of this week, it's about 4.5. So we're going to reset it on August 15th. It could be up to 5 at that point.
So then all that's gonna get paid off, so you save all that extra interest and that kind of stuff. My question has to do with to do this transaction, what are the fees associated with that? What is that gonna cost us with this whole transaction to do it? Just like you said, what's the capital outlay to the district? What are the fees associated to make this transaction happen? Because again, the savings is only about $40,000 bucks. Let's just say goes from 3 to 5%, right? I'm not good at math, but 2% of $2 million bucks, that's $40,000, right? That's what we're gonna save. We pay it off at once, we get those assets back in the district. We save $40,000 in interest because of this other bump that's gonna happen. What are the fees associated with that?
Okay, so the bondholder and trustee, they're actually the same party, just different divisions. They provided their full payoff on their side, so they've got 1.95 principal, accrued interest to the date. I don't have that at the moment.
I think it was about 24,000.
24,000 bucks, so that's accrued interest that gets you through the payoff date. They have, I think, a redemption fee of maybe 500. They've got UCC filing fees, which is about another 500, and maybe a couple other fees. So their total payoff on their end, I mean, they might ask for, they haven't confirmed it 100%, but as of, a week ago, 1.97 or
1.83.
1.83. So that's for them. For our firm, and I won't speak on behalf of the financial advisor, for our firm, I have asked Mr. Mendoza, could we maybe perhaps do this for, $10,000 to get it completely done. That would include real estate time, which will be a lot. They have to go and file with the county records and everything. And so I have a feeling it's probably going to cost more than that, but we'll handle that internally. So that's what we're going to ask for. Obviously, if that doesn't work for the district, we're certainly happy to negotiate and sharpen our pencils if we need to.
I mean, and again, the only reason I ask is, there's the opportunity to save money, but again, it involves the transaction.
Right.
And any time involves a transaction, there's going to be fees involved and that kind of stuff. And so, I just want to make sure that the recommendation, if you bring it forth next Tuesday,
Sure.
that we understand what our savings is, because it doesn't sound like it's going to be 40,000 anymore, because you're going to have to start subtracting out the fees we're paying to do the transaction, next week, to do the transaction now. So to save to save potentially that 40,000, right? Again, the 2% delta right above, because we think the interest rate's going to go up. Then we need to understand what it's a benefit to the district and if it's something we really want to do or not, because we are pulling real money out of our fund balance to do
That
this.
is correct. That is correct. That's right. And we'll have that.
Just as well, just to add to that, it's in the delta on that, but in addition, we're saving because we paid it off year after year, that as well. But I think your point is very well taken.
Well, the payoff has to occur regardless. So really, you're just saving the extra interest expense, the payment you're in. Your point is taken. You're going to save that plus the interest in that year, in the 1 year of that amount, right? So you'll save probably more than that. Maybe that calculation should be added. Figure out what is it of that payoff in the next year, or the payoff in the next several years. What does that interest look like? Because then it's the 40,000 plus whatever that total interest cost is. We need to factor that in so we understand what the savings is. And the fees are the fees, and that's fine. But I think we should understand what's the total savings and interest that we're going to save that we're not going to.
Yeah, I think the total interest, and I'll double check, but it's over $64,000 as far as from now until the payoff of 2027.
Plus the another 40, because once the interest. Well, I would.
That's right. You're right.
Yeah, I would almost kind of assume a 5%, just so we have an idea. What would that interest look like over 5% of the remaining life of that note? Just so we have an idea of what it would be if we didn't pay it off. I think that's probably fair to look at it that way.
Sure.
Yeah.
And just one other point of clarification at the end of this, if we don't pay this off early and we go through 27, are there still transaction fees to move this real estate to HCISD ownership?
I'm assuming
Right?
so.
So one time,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So if y'all don't exercise, just to be clear, if y'all don't exercise this option to purchase, you still have to do something. So that would be an amendment to the documentation, which would be nothing. I mean, we can handle that, no problem.
Other
I think her
questions?
point is that at the end, you're still gonna have to do the real estate transactions, transfer everything.
Correct.
It's feasible.
I imagine with what interest rates are happening right now, you guys are pretty busy these days doing this kind of stuff with public entities all over the state.
Yeah, although, you know, refunding bonds for a long period of time were a pretty big part of the toolbox, right? But,
Sure.
you know, a lot of that's gone away with rising interest rates. There's really no savings involved. And so the rising interest rates have created some interesting scenarios that we really haven't seen in the last 15 or so years. So we're having to.
It's a new thing right now. It's only an option for those districts or those public entities with super healthy fund balances, or else you don't have that option.
Yeah.
To your point, Dr. Bettis, you might also now analyze taking $2 million out of fund balance and investing it in a 5% something return to offset the
Yeah.
interest you're paying for the same period, And you might win. I think you're only talking about a few $1,000s.
Sure.
You also need to look at if you're changing it from LIBOR to this other indice, that indice set for a year, then it resets another year, so you've got all these years left of your payout.
It's a moving target.
The interest rate is a moving target, which I don't think is going to come down anytime within the next 3 years. So you really have some other uncertainty out there with inflation, what it is.
I guess that is an extra point. So prior to this LIBOR, SOFR change, whatever, the IRS, the Internal Revenue Code would say if you tweaked any sort of term in your underlying bond documents, that would be a reissuance under the federal income tax provisions. So you wouldn't be issuing new bonds. You have to follow the 838 and do certain things involved with the Internal Revenue Service. However, they've acknowledged that this is an issue, and so they're allowing flexibility to switch this one term. So we couldn't go switch to a fixed rate or anything like that. We have to do LIBOR to SOFR, and that's pretty much it. And so that's going to be subject to an index every year until it matures in 2027.
Thanks for bringing this to our attention.
Okay.
Any additional comments?
Now we'll provide an analysis and we'll do a 5%, again, it could vary, so we'll do a fix for 5 till 2027 and then provide that savings, cost savings, and that delta with the cost additions.
And you'll be making a recommendation too.
Yes.
So we'll share that as soon as we have that.
So they can't be here, but you're going to be here next week? right?
Yes.
And my apologies again.
You said
Busy time.
Congress, but you meant state of.
The state of Texas, yes.
The House
The
and the
committee
Senate.
the committee is escaping at the moment, but Public Improvement Districts has a bill out there. School districts aren't really participating, the cities and counties do. And it's a pretty big bill, and we have expertise in it, so we'll be speaking.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Trying to get back to get that good rate for that $2 million.
And I think right now, and to add on that also, I think right now, Ray, you have current investments that are being invested. The pools right now are getting 4 to 5% interest returns. So they're doing a good job with the investment. That's why we're.
He's blushing, look.
Very good. All right. Thank you so much for being present today and answering our questions. Thank you for bringing that forward. All right, we now stand adjourned. Thank you all so much. Thank you.